Yes, Susan, my show.
Yes, your shill. No, I've never asked this question before. So you have the big box of ideas. What are some odds and ends in the box that you've never been able to work into a novel yet? What are some really cool gee whiz things?
There's again, this one thing that's always fascinating me, I don't know how to do it, is that there's a new, and this is it's not been in a box that long, but I really want to put it in a book, I just can't think how to do it. And so if you ever see this in a book, you'll know my struggle with this, is that they were able to develop and merge together by gene splicing to produce a type of skin, human skin, that's grown with spider silk incorporated into it to make it extra strong.
Ew.
So I don't know what to do with that.
Ew.
So it's cool. If it gets a good response, that's just the response I want.
So not cool.
So I'll find some way to put that in some book. I just can't think of why or how or why they would do that or who would do that. I'll find a way.
Sounds like a sequel to Ultra Vita.
It could be. Yeah. Lona Polk might just find this spider silk laced human being. Yes. Anybody else? Yes.
I just started reading the Altar of Eden because someone left it in my office and I looked in the glass.
That was me. That's all around my feet, books around me.
Oh, it's lost and found. So, okay, so I went out and I got it. So, is it considered science fiction? Or is that typical of your work that it crosses over?
It crosses over. I mean, I don't try to go too far-fetched, but I will go fetched. So, a little bit, yeah. I always try to, again, I'm always playing with, if there's this science, what if somebody abuses that science? What if we look at maybe 3 days in the future in that science where they might take it? And then I try to build a story around that. So it's not totally crazy stuff. I try to make it as grounded in current science as possible. And that's why at the end of the book I why I started putting, I'm not going to tell you anything. At the end of the story, everybody dies. No. At the end. At the end of every one of my novels, including Walter B, I sort of lay out what's true and what's not. Because I got tired of answering emails about people going, is this part of the story true? Is this part of the story true? Or I read reviews going, I was really accepting James Rollins' novel, except for this aspect of the story. This aspect was absolutely insane. I don't believe it. It's just silly. Who would ever believe it? I'm thinking, that's the true part of the story. Yeah, I do weird things from there, but that actually is the true part. So at the end, I like to sort of say, that sounds outlandish maybe when you're reading. Go, wow, that's, and then go find out that's probably based on the most solid part of of my research. Yes.
What are some of your favorite authors?
What are some of my favorite authors? I still read a lot, and I read across a wide gamut of different authors. I don't just read thrillers, I also read mysteries, I also read literary fiction, I also read horror, science fiction, fantasy. One of my favorite authors is Dan Simmons. I don't know how many people know Dan Simmons. A couple of hands. Dan Simmons is, it's a love-hate relationship I have with Dan Simmons in that he writes different genres. No matter what genre he writes in, if he writes science fiction, he wins the Hugo Award for Best Science Fiction Novel of the Year. If he writes horror, he wins the Bram Stoker for the Best Horror Novel of the Year. If he writes a mystery, he wins the Edgar Award for mystery. And he's won all of those. So I hate him. I can't stop reading him. But other people, George R. R. Martin has been I've been a huge George R. R. Martin fan for ages. If you've ever seen Game of Thrones on HBO, that's based on his series. Great, intricate, involved fantasy series. I like Nevada Barr as a mystery writer because she writes based in different national parks, and being that I just, again, maybe that's my veterinary background, but very naturalist take she takes in her mysteries. I just love that because the national park in and of itself becomes a character in her novels, and I love that. What else do I read? I mean, I keep reading Stephen King, hoping that he will write The Shining again. I've been reading Stephen King. I think the first book I picked up was when Salem's Lot first came out, so that's how long I've been reading Stephen King. I read Salem's Lot when it first came out, and then I went back and read Carrie, and then read everything that came out since then. So I'm still waiting for him to write the way he used to write. Sorry, Stephen King. Can I tell you my Joe Hill story really fast?
Please.
That's your question. Yeah. Joe Hill wrote Heart-Shaped Box, great novel. Horns, haven't read that one yet, but Susan read this great novel. She made me read Devil Horns earlier today that she got from Joe Hill. And so Joe Hill wrote this great debut novel called Little Heart-Shaped Box. And to me, to this day, I think it has an opening. If it's in the store somewhere, everybody after this is done, go read the first page and a half of that novel. I think it's the most brilliant first page and a half of the novel I've read in ages. When I read that book, and I got sent an ARC, an advanced reader's copy, because they wanted a blurb from me. And I ended up like calling a friend on the phone. I'm going to read you this first page and a half. It's the coolest first page and a half I ever read of a horror novel. So I read to it. And so give a very enthusiastic blurb for it. And I sent the editor who had sent me the ARC a note saying, this is an exciting debut novel by this horror writer. I love the first half of the page. Here's a blurb. Do with it whatever you want to do with it. This writer, Stephen King wishes he could write this well. And sent to his editor. Well, Joe Hill, for those that don't know, is Stephen King's son. So, luckily, hopefully, that letter never got forwarded directly to Joe Hill.